Morning everybody, it's Rob, Yoga Dad, and we made it to Friday, the second week of the Summer Stretch Fundraising Challenge. Well done for anybody that's been joining me every day for the past 10 days. Awesome performance. And if this is your first time, or you've just been dipping in and out of these sessions over the last couple of weeks, then I've been hugely grateful and honoured in fact delighted that you've been sparing 15 minutes out of your day to join me for these 15-minute stretch sessions. Let's get straight into it this morning. What we're going to do is focus on typically like a bit of a warm down session that I do if I'm kind of following Joe Wicks on one of his high intensity sessions. It's not going to be that high intensity, don't worry about that for this time of the day, but it's a good way of obviously supporting recovery, getting ourselves back in a restful position, and hopefully setting ourselves up, re-energizing us for the day ahead and the weekend that hopefully is going to be a beautiful sunny one. Right, let's get going. So just find yourself, as we did yesterday, in a position that feels good to you. So it could be a comfortable cross-legged position, could be laying on your back with your knees knocking together, feet out wider than the hips. For me, I'm reverting back to where I was yesterday morning. So I'm sitting my hips back towards the heels, okay? I'm keeping my knees bent. If that feels uncomfortable at all, then just providing a bit of extra support. You could use blocks, you could use cushions, dinosaur pillows, whatever you've got to hand, and just resting yourself back, and then just laying your head down on the floor. Arms alongside the legs. If that feels uncomfortable at all for the forehead resting down, then just crossing the forearms over one another, and just resting the forehead on the back of the arms. For me though, I'm going to lay my arms alongside and just start settling in to this space this morning. Just checking in with how I feel, checking in with how you feel. What are your energy levels like? What's your emotional state? How still or restless do you feel this morning? Are you carrying any aches or tension or injuries that you just need to take account of? How is your breath? You're laying in the same position as me, then are you feeling the body just lifting up, the upper body in particular, each time you breathe in? And the body soften and sink down, weight of the body becoming heavier each time you breathe out. And how do you feel mentally this morning? Do you feel like you've got a million and one things racing around? You're just struggling to really focus on one thing at a time? And if that's the case, and using this as an opportunity just to acknowledge the existence of all those other things going on in your life, but just prioritizing those feelings, those sensations, those individual breaths in the body, and just letting all that other stuff go. Just slowly lifting yourself back up again. So we're going to start in an all fours position this morning. So wherever you started with me, we're going to move into this all fours position. So hands now out to shoulder distance apart, just to create that little bit more space across the chest and the shoulders. We're going to inhale and lift up. So we're going to look up towards the sky, chin towards the sky, arching our spine. Tailbone pointing up. Rounding our spine, chin to chest. Tailbone tucking under. We do that 3 more times. Maybe even closing the eyes each time you move. Just feeling that space that you're creating across the chest, between the upper arms. The space that you're creating between each vertebrae along the spine. And the space that you're creating as well, all the way from along the front body, from the jawline, down towards the belly button and the pelvis. We'll take 1 more breath. Chin to chest. And then back to a neutral position. We'll take our hips back towards our heels again. We'll just take our arms now, hands down towards the top of the mat. So lowering our head down as we sink our hips back, almost between the heels. And again, if this feels uncomfortable at all, then use any extra support to lift yourself up and crossing the forearms over again, resting the forehead on the back of the arms if needs be. Primarily what I'm looking for here is some length along the side body, all the way from the pinky fingers on either side, either hand, all the way down towards the hips. But also that space, expansiveness that you're creating between the chest, or across the chest between the shoulders. And again, each time you breathe in, really feel like you're lifting up, inviting energy into the body, and each time you breathe out, body softens down. Now keeping the hands where they are, we're going to press down through the balls of the feet, and we're going to slowly lift our upper body up. And as we do so, we're then going to lift our hips, lift our knees up off the mat, and take ourselves down or up into our first downward dog position today. Now if this feels uncomfortable at all, particularly across the wrists and shoulders, lowering yourself back down to that child's pose or all fours position. But otherwise, you find yourself in that downward dog, then just start lifting one heel and then the other, and just extending out along the back of the legs, all the way from the hips down towards the heels, and from the hands all the way across the shoulders and along the side body. Great way to energize the whole body. Also the kind of thing that you can actually do supported against the wall. If it feels too strong across the wrists, there's many different variations in which you can still find the same stretch in the body, all the way from the tips of the fingers down towards the tips of the toes. Okay, slowly taking yourself back down towards the floor again, back into that kneeling position at the back of the mat. We're going to lift our hips up now, and we're going to take our right foot forward. You might find, if you're like me, you've got a knobbly back knee. If that's the case, feel free to use any extra support when in this kind of lunge position, and just making sure that that front ankle, the front knee, is no further forward than the being in line with the ankle. So we don't want it out to the side or too far forward. Just put some stress on the knee and the ankle joints. Okay, place our hands across the front knee and just lifting the upper body up. So really feel that length now all the way from the crown of the head. As we sink our hips forward and down, we just create that opening across the inside of the left thigh. By lifting the arms up, if that feels good to you. Really feeling that length now all the way from the fingers down towards the hips. That expansiveness across the chest. You still continue to sink the hips down towards the floor. And then taking both hands down towards the floor. We keep the left hand now down. And again, you could easily use a block here, or a thick book, that kind of thing, to provide a bit of extra support for that hand, or just tensing the fingers, so just keeping those fingers tented, keeping that left hip lifted up, and we're just going to start rotating the right arm around and back, and then back and forward. Do that a couple more times, and just really exploring that full range of motion that's available across the right shoulder, and that opening across the right side of the chest, and then back again. I'll take that right hand now down, framing the right foot, and we're going to start lifting the left heel up now towards the left bum cheek. Okay, so feeling that stretch now along the front of the left thigh, and across the back of the left leg, and then lowering it down. Do that a couple more times. Left heel to left bum cheek, and then back down. And one more time, and back down again. Now we're going to incorporate those two movements together. It's not essential that you're able to touch the left foot with that right hand, but just go in the same direction at least. So as we take our right arm back, we're going to lift our left heel, and then back again. We'll do that twice more. But just also this invites some lateral movement for the spine. We twist around towards that right side, and then back down again. Now we're going to keep our hands framing that front foot, but just walking that right foot back in towards the centre of the mat. And I'm actually going to take both of my blocks that I've got either side, just to provide a bit of extra support for the hands. And again, you can just use thick books, that type of thing, just to provide that support. Now we're going to slowly roll onto the back of the right heel as we take our hips back towards the left heel. Now providing that extra bit of support with the blocks for the hands just enables our chest to stay open, avoids rounding our spine, and just maintains that all the way along the back body. Now if that feels comfortable to you, just start walking those hands forward to a position in which you feel the stretch all the way along the back of the right leg in this hamstring stretch. Holding that for about 5 to 10 breaths. And keeping those toes pointed up towards the ceiling. And that left hip sometimes has a tendency just to start kinking out to the side, the left side. So just bringing that back in towards the centre so the hips are lined up with the front of the mat. And slowly lowering that right foot down again, keeping those blocks where they are. We're going to frame that front foot again, okay? Press down through the ball of the left foot, lifting that left knee up. We're going to take that right foot back alongside the left and just taking ourselves into a plank position. Now lowering the knees back down again, walking the hips back towards the heels, hands back towards the legs. Lift ourselves back up onto the hips away from the heels again, and then taking that left foot forward. And again, you might find one side is quite different to the other. You might find that the right knee feels a bit more comfortable than the left. So again, using any kind of blanket support as much as you need. Placing the hands now across the left knee, just checking to make sure the left knee is no further forward than the ankle. Not kind of externally rotating out towards the side, the left side of the mat. And if that feels comfortable, lifting the arms up on an inhale. And again, really feeling that length all the way along the side body. While at the same time, the hips now sink down forward and down along the inside of the left thigh. And just deepening into that stretch now along the inside of the right. Hands now down, framing that left foot. I'm going to take the left arm now and start rotating it around towards the back. And then back to the front. And then we do that twice more. Just exploring again that range of motion that's available in the left shoulder. It might feel quite different to the right. And we start lifting the right heel towards the right bum cheek this time, feeling that stretch along the right thigh. Right hamstring engaged. Do that a couple more times. Once more. And then we incorporate the two movements. Left hand back towards right heel. Rotating around. Lateral movement for the spine again. This time on the left hand side. And then back down. Now bringing that left foot back in towards the centre of the mat. Walking those hands back again, rolling onto the back of the left heel this time. And again, using any support that you need just to provide that little bit of extra height for the upper body in particular. And just start deepening into that stretch. So maximising, maintaining that length. And of course you can change the height as well, if needs be, of the support that you're using. If you need that little bit of extra height. And just deepening into the stretch for the left leg as you lower the upper body forward. And again, really feeling that sensation now all the way along from the left heel all the way back to the left hip socket. And just being mindful of what's happening with that right hip. Just drawing it back in towards the centre to maintain that alignment with the shoulders towards the top of the mat. And slowly lowering that left foot back down again. And this time we'll press down through the ball of the right foot, lifting the right knee up, taking the left foot back to meet the right as we arrive in our plank position, either with the knees lifted or lowered. Just holding that for a moment. Slowly taking the knees down, hips back towards the heels. Just going to move those blocks away from one side. Bring ourselves back round towards the centre in a comfortable cross-legged position. And there we are. That's our stretch session for today. I hope you've really enjoyed it. And I'll just move a little bit closer to the camera actually, just as we finish. So thanks to everybody that's been joining me for these sessions over the last couple of weeks. We've still got another 4 weeks to go. Who'd have thought it? But we're a third of the way through. So fantastic performance for any of you that have been joining me over the past 10 days. And just as a reminder, this is all about raising awareness and donations for an incredible array of local charities that are on the front line of the COVID response. So looking at elderly isolation and loneliness, domestic abuse, recovering addicts, homelessness, suicide prevention, young people's mental health and food banks. Please donate as generously as you can for these causes, because they've all launched emergency bills. Their shortfalls are like hundreds of thousands of pounds. So they desperately need more money. They desperately need money. So if you've been saving money this month on the Eat Out to Help Out campaign, then why not donate some of those savings to some of these good causes? It would be an incredible gesture, and I'm sure they would be hugely grateful for it. Anyway, hopefully you get a chance to enjoy the sun as I am today in Bristol, and have a fantastic weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next week.